In today's video, I'm going to be talking about one of the villains from the Penguins of Madagascar series, which is none other than Hans. And I must say, even before I started my channel, I wanted to do a review of Hans so bad, and I finally am going to do it. I'm going to review him. So, yeah. Now, without further ado, let's get into the review. Now, Hans is a very interesting character to me because he has a very interesting background with Skipper, which most of it is unknown. Now, in one of the episodes, it's revealed that Skipper, for some reason, can't go to Denmark, and I mentioned that before in one of my other videos, but later on, when Hans comes along, it's revealed that Hans is the reason that Skipper couldn't go back to Denmark, but oddly enough, it was not revealed in that episode why. So they're truly just taking steps here. First they tell that Skipper can't go to Denmark, then we find out that Hans is the reason he couldn't go to Denmark, but we still didn't know why. And I'm still not for sure why he couldn't. I think it was for a dumb reason. I don't know. But I read that Hans framed Skipper for something. And I'm pretty sure there's more to this. Now, I haven't seen the episode where Skipper is able to make right what happened. But I'm still confused about this whole thing. Hopefully once I see that episode, things might become a little bit more clear. But anyway, so yeah, Hans and Skipper, their relationship just really interested me because I read again that Hans framed Skipper for something and then Skipper left Denmark. And apparently Hans did something too, and the people there in Denmark kicked him out because in the first episode that he's in, he reveals that they kicked him out of his home and he became homeless, and Skipper shipped him to a zoo, which is not a very good zoo from what I hear. And Hans shows up a few times throughout the show, or in a few episodes. I honestly kind of wish he was shown a little bit more, but anyway. Now, the first episode that he's in, I believe it's called Huffin' and Puffin, I believe. But anyway, so in that episode is when it's revealed that he's the reason that Skipper can't go to Denmark, and it's clear that Skipper still has it in for him. And I just think that their relationship is just so interesting because I really feel like they were friends once, but I'll get more to that in a minute. So anyway, Hans shows up and it's revealed that he's the reason that Skipper, of course, can't go to Denmark, but it's not revealed why in this episode. But Hans tries to befriend Skipper, but Skipper wants absolutely nothing to do with him. But eventually Skipper starts to come around. But when he does, Hans pulls the rug right out from under him, and he tries to take over the Penguins' headquarters. And I believe he even locks them out of it. But Skipper is able to get inside, and then it's revealed that Hans couldn't go back to Denmark either, and I think it's because of, well, let's just say his craziness. He didn't say, I don't think he said exactly what he did to get kicked out, but it must have been something pretty serious, I'm guessing. But anyway, so Hans is crying that he has no home, and then Skipper sends him to the zoo, and apparently it's not a very good zoo. And that's the first episode that he's in. And unfortunately, I actually have not seen any of the other episodes he's in, except for the first one that he's in and the episode Best Foes. So I'm not too sure about the other episodes. I know that there are a few more that he's in, but I can't really talk much about those since I haven't seen those episodes. But I'm hoping to mention a little bit more about him when I review those episodes. But I do know that Hans actually did at some point work for Dr. Blowhole in one of the episodes, but I'm not too sure how he got to work for him. I know that there's a scene at the beginning of that episode where him and Skipper are having a battle or something, and I don't know if the episode reveals how he got to work for Blowhole, but I do know that he left that zoo that Skipper sent him to, and then somehow he started working for Blowhole, and then when Skipper stopped Blowhole in that episode, I'm guessing that's when he went back. I don't know. Unfortunately, I've not seen those episodes yet, but I'm hoping to soon. But yeah, so I'll have to mention more of that when I review those episodes. But I am glad that I at least have seen 2 episodes that he's in. And I actually think it's interesting that he worked for Blowhole, because Blowhole and Hans are the only villains from the show that I personally like and want to know more about and see again. And I would love to know more about him and Skipper's backstory. Like, what's the deal with them? What happened? And I'm kind of wondering if maybe Hans is the reason that Skipper is the way he is. Because I know in one episode he believes that a friend is an enemy that hasn't attacked yet, which is crazy, but I mean, that's just Skipper for you. He's so paranoid and distrusting towards others, but oddly enough, he seems to really trust his brothers, which they're really the only animals he does trust. But I'm kind of wondering if maybe Hans had something to do with Skipper's distrust towards others and him being so paranoid. And maybe that could even explain why him and Julian never became friends, because with Julian's selfish personality in the Penguin show, maybe Skipper felt like, due to that Julian very likely would eventually hurt him again, like maybe Hans or somebody else did. And I talked a little bit about that in my video where I talked about Skipper, but I'm thinking that maybe that's the reason that, 1, he has it in for Hans, 2, that could be why he's distrusting and paranoid, and 3, that could also be why him and Julian never became friends, because maybe Skipper figured that Julian would turn his back on him and then he'd go through all that all over again. Now again, I don't know if that's the case, but I'm just thinking it might be. But yeah, it's just so interesting what the deal could be with Skipper and even Hans. And something that is very, very interesting to me is that in the episode Best Foes, Hans says that he's had a secret dream that him and Skipper are friends. Now, I don't know if he meant that he actually wants to be friends with Skipper, like he wants to make things right, but for some reason he hasn't. Or maybe he just meant, the kind of dream you have at night. I honestly don't know what he meant by that, but I know it's got to be obviously one of the two. So yeah, that really interests me. I'm like, okay, do you mean the kind of dream you have at night? Or do you mean that you actually want to be friends with Skipper and make things right? But if so, then why hasn't he? Although Skipper is very distrusting, so maybe he thinks that Skipper will never truly forgive him. I don't know. I would really, really like to know more about that. So yeah, if any villains ever return, Hans is one of them that I would definitely so want to see again. Him and Blowhole too, and even Dave from the Penguins movie. But honestly, I think they would really be the only villains I think I would like to see again. But anyway, so yeah, Hans is quite the interesting bird. Now, I accidentally said that I only saw 2 episodes, but I honestly forgot that I've actually seen 3 episodes that he's in. Now, I forget the name of the 3rd episode that I saw him in, which for me, I believe that was the first episode I saw him in, which I'm not sure what it's called, but I do know what happens in it. I do remember it pretty well. It's about where Hans is trying to, I guess, take something in this lab, and the penguins stop him, and then this stuff falls on Skipper, causing him to blow up like a balloon when he gets mad. And Skipper gets mad a lot, so that was a pretty interesting episode. In fact, I think that was my favorite episode until I saw Needlepoint. But that is still a good episode. I unfortunately haven't been able to see it for a while, but yeah, I think that was the first episode I saw that Hans was in, I believe. Now, something else that I kind of find interesting is, I believe the last episode that Hans was in was Best Foes, which I think that was the last episode, or one of the last episodes that aired when the Penguin show was about to stop airing. So, yeah, but anyway, there's this one part at the end where Skipper ties Hans to a rocket and sends him to the moon. Or at least he, I guess, intended to send him to the moon. I don't know if he made it, but I really wonder what happened to Hans afterwards, because I know there's this one episode where the penguins tried to go to the moon, but that didn't work. So maybe Hans didn't make it to the moon, but maybe he did, and maybe he's stuck up there. I hope not. I really don't think he could survive up there, especially not without a helmet. I really hope Skipper didn't send him to the moon without a helmet or anything. But anyway, so yeah, I think that was really interesting to think about, because where did he end up? I don't really think he went to the moon, but where did he end up? Maybe he did end up on the moon, or if not, where did he end up? But yeah, that's one of my questions that I have about Hans. I'm telling you, this show, in fact, this whole Madagascar franchise is like one big mystery. I think there's more mysteries in this franchise than in any other, or just about. Okay, so now let me share with you some trivia about Hans. Now, from what I read, Hans is actually in 7 episodes. And Hans is supposed to be from Denmark, so he's supposed to be Danish, but believe it or not, his accent isn't Danish. In fact, it's not really known what his accent is. Maybe, I don't know if it's possible for someone to have a mixed accent. I don't think that would be possible, but maybe for him it is, since it's not really known what kind of accent he does have. So maybe he has a little bit of, I think he kind of sounds maybe a little German or maybe Swedish or something, but I don't know. It's, again, unknown what accent he does have, but I think he does sound maybe a little German or maybe, again, Swedish or something. And in one of the episodes that I actually haven't seen as of now, there's this possum character who's, I think they call her Ma, and there's this one part where she's playing dead, and Hans, I'm guessing, thinks that she's actually dead, that she's not just, as they say, playing possum, because that's what possums do. But it's interesting because he says that not even someone like him would hurt a sweet lady like her, or something like that, he says. And again, in the first episode that he's in, he cries when he admits to Skipper that he's homeless. And so, yeah, Hans is not a super, evil villain, like, say, Scar from The Lion King. He's definitely got a softer spot in him, and to me, that is a good villain. A villain who's yet still a villain, but yet they have a softer side to them, and they're likable and not annoying. I wish the Paw Patrol would pick up on that, but anyway. And also, it's been revealed that Hans doesn't like beans because the possum Ma offers him beans and he doesn't eat them at first, but from what I read, he later on eats them. I don't know how she got him to eat them if he didn't like them, but I so hope I can see that episode because I bet that is so funny. But anyway. Now, something else that I think is really interesting about Hans is that, believe it or not, the guy that voiced Rico also voices Hans. And when I found out that the guy that voiced Rico also voiced Hans, I'm like, what? Wow. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And something else that's also interesting about Hans is that, believe it or not, he actually is never seen flying in the show. And it's unclear why. I guess maybe he just didn't need to fly in different episodes, but puffins, unlike penguins, can fly. So, I don't know, maybe he just didn't need to fly. But puffins in general can fly. Or maybe another reason that he didn't fly in the show was because maybe he's scared to fly for some reason. Or maybe he never learned how. I don't know. I'm guessing he just, didn't need to fly. I'm guessing that's probably why we never saw him flying, because he just didn't need to. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'm so glad that I finally reviewed Hans. So anyway, stay tuned for more. Bye.